All right, y'all. Hey, y'all. Sorry, we're running a little behind, a couple minutes behind. Jessica, I see you're already here.
Yeah, it was my fault. I was eating tacos and watching Mary that site, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's 7:27."
Hey, Nicole.
What up, folks?
Howdy. Hello. How's everyone?
Howdy.
Mm, I can't believe what you just told me. I'm still in shock.
Let's replay the tape. I told Ashley that I will not be finishing the series of Miss Marvel.
Can you explain to me why, really quick, before we even dive into any of this? Please explain to me why.
It could be that I think I'm first time in my life as an avid reader, I'm in a slump. Like usually people be like, "Oh, I haven't read in so long," and I'm like, "How have you haven't read?" And like, how do you like for so
Yeah.
long? I'm like, can't relate, can't relate. But like, I mean, I have other stuff going on in my life too right now. But like, it's just been really hard to read and do anything that kind of
Yeah.
makes me want to like shut down my YouTube channel and go ghost for a couple years because I'm just like, I have no energy
No.
to do nothing. So, and
Just
then
yeah.
I just don't want, I'm so like tired of the superhero trope. Like, of
Oh.
like, it's giving trope. And when I say trope, I mean like, not actually, because we know it's not a trope, but I'm tired of like reading anything that's like it's good versus evil. I like tired of it. Like I
This
need
was
to
not
have
the month. Yeah, then this wasn't the month for you to read this.
this wasn't a month for me
Yeah,
because
this wasn't the
every
month for you to read it.
oh I'm going to be strong. Oh this boy. Oh I'm sad. Like he was my crush. He's done. Oh this that and I'm just like I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
to be
yeah. Wrong
honest.
month for you to read it. Wrong month because you were trashing such a good run of a comic right
I
now,
know,
and
I
I'm
know,
like,
I know, I know. So I'm saying all this to say I don't want to rate it because I mean, if you've
mhm,
been following me for a long time, you know I don't like to rate stuff when my mood is trash because I feel like it is a serious injustice to what I'm reading. So, but I did finish the assignment, and I imagine if Bree was 100, at least 90% up here,
mhm,
it would be like a four and a
mhm,
half star for me.
mhm,
But I'm just over it. I'm
mhm,
over it. And I'm just really here to hear you struggle. I mean, not struggle, you rave about how great this comic is
mhm.
because if I have to read one more good versus evil,
Yeah, don't touch it
I'm
anymore.
going
Leave
to
it alone.
fall out the window. And I
Yeah,
feel like I can force myself to continue to read these
no,
volumes.
you'll
It's
hate
just
it.
this.
Yeah, you'll hate
It's
it.
just
You'll hate it.
this.
I
Yeah.
will say that the nature of because Elizabeth, I see your comment. The nature of reading a run of a comic book series, y'all have been spoiled thus far. Okay. The nature of a comic book series is that artists are going to change. It's very rare for, and I'm not saying that that's not valid because there are some, because if you pay attention, there are different artists on different issues in a volume. And
Especially in
unfortunately,
volume three.
yeah, and unfortunately, that's what happens when you have a comic that runs as long as Miss Marvel has run, is that your artists do have a tendency to change. The the only one that's the exception to that is Saga, and that's why Saga is so like crazy for the fact that the same three people, the same artist, the same writer, the same see the letterer, yeah, the same letter. All three of them have maintained since issue one. That's not common in comics. So if you're going into comics thinking that, and not just you, Elizabeth, if you're going into comics and you're thinking that you're going to get the same art style across every single volume, I'm gonna go ahead and say you're gonna be super disappointed every single time because of the fact that um it's never likely that you're going to keep the same artist. It doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be critiqued, but if you're looking for that consistency in art style with long runs of comics, you're not going to find it because
Yeah,
it doesn't typically happen like that. So there were some artists that I really liked on this run, and there's some artists that I didn't like on this run, and it varied by volume, it varied by issue, it varied by what was happening. So the art for this overall, I think, is a hit or miss depending upon um depending upon what issue, not even volume, like literally what issue you're reading, because the artists were changing on issues if you look at
yeah,
like the very front of every volume.
yeah. I mean, I noticed that there's two comic runs that I really appreciate the consistency.
Mhm.
Um, it was in, oh my God, get it together. Bitter Root.
Bitterroot
It
was
was
consistent,
the
yeah.
same letterist, the artists, and etc. And the same with Saga. But there's other comics I read where you can tell that there's like some different things going
Yeah.
on. And it
Mhm.
don't bother me unless it's like drastic. You know what I mean?
And
Like
sometimes it is drastic.
and it was drastic in volume 2, if you ask
Mhm.
me. In volume 3 as well. Especially where Shields came in. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Sorry, y'all.
So
Hold on.
huh?
Adjust. I would put my hand over the camera because I was trying to adjust it, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
Ooh, in your hand stuff.
I know, my poor little hand. Could barely
Mm,
use it.
it's trying. But yeah, so um let's start off.
Let me answer this one. Yes, Miss Marvel is a TV show is coming out in June or July of this year on Disney Plus. So at least some of y'all will have some background for Miss Marvel. And it all depends on whether they're going to stick to the storyline, because after G. Willow Wilson, there is also another run that was done by a different writer.
Yeah, but
So
you
I don't know
prefer
which
G.
one.
Willow Wilson.
Hmm.
You prefer G. Wilson, right?
I've only read, I've moment of honesty and transparency. I've only read the 10 volumes from her, and I was so nervous to pick up the other guys because I liked her run so much. And I was like, he's going to screw it up. Which is not, that's not necessarily true, but that's how I was feeling. And I think I actually own the first volume that this guy wrote. But I've been like, so hesitant. I just was doing something and trying to keep it as vague as possible. I was doing something and I heard it, so I got to get a little bit of physical therapy on it and wear a brace for a few weeks. That's all. Um, okay, let's start with volume 1.
All right.
You took notes?
Nope, I just needed to hit this asthma pump.
Oh, wait, not it, and then turns camera off. I feel you. Okay, um, I feel you greatly on that. I had to give baby girl her asthma pump last night, and I was like, "Ugh, it's that time of the year."
Yeah, I was
Um,
struggling. I was like, what's going on? Why are you wheezing?
listen,
I did take notes though. I
of
did.
course, I just want to say I'm not surprised. You always take notes. I never take notes, which is
I'm a note
why
taker.
I'm so awful at this. Okay, what did you
Never.
rate any of them or no?
No, I didn't rate them yet. Because y'all call this cheating, call it what you want. With comics, I feel like, and I don't want your head to get too big, Ashley, okay? I don't want your head to get too big.
It's already
But
big.
with comics, she said it's already giant.
It's already
Empire State Building.
no,
Um,
no. I mean, like physically, my head is big.
here she
I
goes.
have a big head.
Here she goes. Foolishness. I don't like to rate comics until I talk to you.
Why,
I swear.
Sway?
I can't do it. I don't want your head to get big, but I'll be like, there's something missing. Because for
No.
me, I don't even know how you asked me to be a part of this. I'm straight up novice. You know, I mean, I'm at the beginning of the steps. I ain't even
So
hit
am
the
I.
lies, garbage, and
I
trash.
I am when I if you compare me to like some of the comic tube guys, like I am a newbie. I am such like a new kid on the block. So why would I not? First of all, that's a dumb thing because you're the one who came up with the whole freaking idea. So why would you
That is
not be
also
a part
true.
of it?
I forgot about that. But
You
what
came
I'm
up with the whole concept. You came up with the name. The only thing that I did was help pick out the comics. That was it.
but you have more history, you know more. You just know you have a wealth of knowledge. Don't downplay your greatness. I
Don't
won't have
downplay
it on
yours.
Beyonce. I won't have it on Beyonce's internet. You
Ugh.
downplaying your greatness. What I'm saying is, when I be reading graphic novels and comics, every time I text you a concern, you're like, Bree, what you gotta look and figure out is this is the history of why that happened. And I'm like, oh, I was gonna rate that shit a 2 until you explained it to me. All right, cool, 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 cool.
Ugh.
Every time I'd be like, it's garbage. And you'd be like, it's not garbage. Let me tell you why it's not. And I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't see that. Your girl didn't see that. Thank you for coming in. That's why I said I'm just here.
Thank you,
Uh,
Deidre. Bree did name the entire thing, came up with the whole concept, gave the whole thing a name, basically built the whole entire framework. The only thing I did on that FaceTime call that night, y'all, no lie. The only thing I did, because as a matter of fact, we did this right before I went to Y'all Fest. The only thing I did that night on that FaceTime call was like, Bree, that's such a great idea. Here are the comics we should use. That was it, y'all. Bree came up with the name. Bree was like, we should do this once a month. We should plan it out for the entire year and go ahead and pick everything out. The only thing I said was, oh, well, here are some things that we can throw in each month. That was it. I swear y'all I didn't do anything else. That was it. That's
Oh,
all I did.
because I'm a type A person. I had to get our Google Sheets form ready. I
Yes.
just do. I'm
Bree
only
did the
because I'm
Google
a type A
Sheets, did
person.
everything, y'all. Like, literally did everything. Like, this is the only reason why this thing exists is because Bree was like, you should do some, like, like Realm of Comics. Like, like, it would be cool. Like, if Bree didn't come up, this thing would not exist. So, y'all don't let Bree downplay herself at all because the
And
reason
y'all
why
don't
we're
let
here is because
Ashley
Bree developed the whole
say
thing.
is a step up from novice. Because if you're a novice, that means I'm in hell with the devil and the demons. Like I'm underground. You
I
understand?
cannot.
I love a Google Sheets. I do. And the thing is, I share the same Google Sheets with everybody I'm doing projects with this year.
Yep. And we all
We're
see everything that Bree's doing.
It'd be like that. Not me still wheezing. I think a third one to get us right.
Oh, I have the same inhaler. Okay.
I think that one's
So
expired. We won't talk about it.
I've used an expired one before. Okay, so volume one. I rated volume 1 3 stars. For me, let me go ahead and put this out here and be honest. This series is one that I talk about a lot. I always say, if you're getting into Marvel, you want to start somewhere with Marvel. I think that Miss Marvel, G. Willow Wilson run is a solid run. It's good. It's a good place to start. But it does not start off great. It is a series that builds on itself, and I think it really does not get good to the 4th or 5th volume. So we're talking anywhere between like 20 something issues in is when it really gets good.
I'm gonna agree. The first volume, I was like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I felt like each issue was moving at a glacial speed. I don't know if you
Yeah.
thought that. I just
It's
felt like
slow.
it was so freaking slow,
It's slow.
like it didn't need to be that slow. And then issue 2 happened, and I was like, okay, there was another character, a Marvel character introduced, and I really liked that, but I also wanted more. And then here's my nitpicky thing: there were some issues in volume 2 that I was like, I don't like the placing of the lettering, which is something I never thought I would say in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
My entire life, I never thought I would say
But it
that.
makes sense
I was
though.
like,
But
why
it
would
makes
this
sense.
be here? Yeah, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, why would this be here? Like, what's the motivation of this being here? then volume 3, I just was like, this crush is really got a hold on you. And that's when it started to get a little like I started to get some
Mhm,
intrigue, but the intrigue wasn't bigger than my reading slump, which is why I said I just have to stop right now.
mhm,
And then volume 4, I started like a couple hours ago. Then I fell asleep. Don't judge me. But I'm on page 50, and I'm liking where this is going
mhm.
because for me, I need Miss Marvel to be more interactive with other Marvel characters. I feel like she's so young. We need visual mentorship, and then she can be left on her own.
Mhm.
I just think there's a lot of growing up she needs to do, and I don't like her being alone so much. So I
That
would appreciate if there was more characters
that
throughout the series.
that happens. So eventually that becomes a huge plot point of her not knowing how to balance being a superhero and being a teenager. And
Yeah,
that is the problem with her interaction with the Avengers and Captain Marvel, is the fact that there is no substantial support there, and that is a huge problem because she's running herself ragged. And particularly with Captain Marvel, I don't want to spoil what happens, Brie, because well, maybe you'll forget by the time. I'll say it if you feel like you'll forget by if you decide to continue, or I
I'm
won't.
I'm probably gonna forget.
Okay. So her and Captain Marvel end up having a big fallout
Okay.
for a lot of different reasons, and well deserved, because Captain Marvel is just I just think it's
It's
very
giving
easy.
bougie.
Hmm?
I'm getting bouginess from Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel is not I'm not the hugest fan of Captain Marvel, which is probably why I didn't even like the Captain Marvel movie. Like, she's just not she's not a huge thing for me per se, but I also haven't read a lot of about Captain Marvel, but her personification in this series, like, she's there for Kamala at some points, but they have a falling out and it's tied into the Civil War event. And that's when Kamala had a falling out with her, is when I kind of start looking at her different too, because of what side she was kind of standing on, because her and Iron Man were having a falling out. But it is a huge thing where she's kind of like left by herself, and it becomes a problem in later volumes that she is often left by herself. I think my biggest issue with volume 1 is that when I went back and I read it this time, I realized that you can read it if you have no knowledge of the Marvel universe, but then there are parts of it that are going to make no sense to you, like how Kamala gets her powers, and like what the Terrigen, or however you say that, what that gas, like what all that stuff is, like none of that is explained. If you don't know
No,
what the Kree are, if you don't know what the Inhumans are, if you don't know how that ties into X-Men, like I think a lot of that can be lost, and like you get snippets of stuff, and that's the only thing that I didn't like that much, is that she tried very hard, and I'm talking about G. Willow Wilson tried very hard to write it in a way that you don't have to have this extensive knowledge, but there's tidbits that she had to include, and I don't think that they were necessarily explained very well for someone who's just starting the series. I think it can be confusing because you hear about this miss, and Kamala gets this she gets these powers, but then like it's never fully explained until later on, like where it comes from. And even when they talk about the Kree and the Inhumans, it still can be confusing if you don't have any of that background knowledge.
I'm still trying to. I still feel like I need more information about what Attilan is. I'm just thinking I can't. For me, I need you to give me enough description that I've already taken flight with the imagination in my mind. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Attilan, right? The place where they go and be
Where
one.
Inhumans, where the Inhumans are.
Yeah, where the Inhumans
Mm-hmm.
are. And I every panel that was and what was her name? Queen Medusa was like, hey, we need to bring her here so that she can learn. The thing I kept thinking of right after that, it was like, that's really Western thinking.
Mhm.
White thinking to even say that, because this girl is Muslim, her family is Pakistani, and you think they're gonna be like, oh yeah, go ahead and move in with these
Yeah.
folks. Like, no, absolutely not. So I just, that's just what I kept thinking of.
Mhm.
But that was one of my things.
Yeah, that the introduction to the series itself is very. When I went back and I read this first volume, I was like, I was like, yeah, I think that I I kind of came in with some bias because I knew that the series was going to get better. Like I knew that it was going to progress into something better. But if I was looking at volume 1 within itself, then like I knew it wasn't a strong start. It's not a strong start. It's a very disjointed if you're a new reader. Um and I think that it can be challenging as a new reader jumping straight into Miss Marvel, especially like if you don't have any background knowledge from you haven't watched the Captain America, I mean, the Captain Marvel movie or anything like that. Like it can be confusing. It could be extremely confusing, but I do like that there was some challenging of what it meant to be a woman that was a superhero in like the Marvel universe, if that makes sense. Because you see when she does that first transformation, she looks exactly like Captain Marvel, like just exactly like her, and that's what she expects superheroes to look like. Certain body type, certain type of hair, white, because typically, that's what Marvel has been about for so long. I mean, you do have those characters here and there, that are characters of color, but for the most part you weren't seeing a lot of that. So it was interesting to know that that's how she saw herself, and that's what she considered a valid superhero, was someone who looked like Captain Marvel. So that was the strongest part of that volume. But when I first read it back in 2016, I think I gave it 3.5 stars, and reading it in 2022, I gave it 3. So it
Yeah.
dropped for me. Yeah.
I don't think it would be more than a 3, only because I was
No,
very
yeah.
confused. And to be honest, how do I describe this? Volume 1 for me, I was like, Bree, don't judge the whole volume, because they can't tell you everything with these single issues, and even in the
Mhm.
volume, like there's more things that needs to be explained, and maybe they're trying to, bring stuff together with all the plot holes that is happening in volume 1.
Mhm.
But as I'm now half a quarter through volume 4, there are still things that still hasn't been explained. So when I look at it from that lens, I can
Mhm.
I can see how in my mind I'm like, it can't be more than a 3 star.
You know,
3.5.
I think I'm kind of running ahead to with like volume 2. I wasn't always the hugest fan of like the villains in this run either. Like the bird in
The
volume 2.
adventure,
The
I felt like
cockatiel.
it was just useless. I just felt like, and I felt some of the scenes were just anticlimactic. I was like, what? Like I
Yeah.
felt like Saga, when I compare those fight scenes to this, it was just it left a lot to be desired. And I
Yeah.
was just like, these villains is reminding me of whoever watched that channel Boomerang. And it's like those really old cartoons. And they're like,
Mhm.
ha, I got you. And I'm going to get you with my spray button.
That's what the
And
bird felt like.
right. And then the hero was like, not before I get you with my magic poop jar, whatever. And then that's over and it's done. And I'm just like, it just felt, it was a lot to be give that wasn't gave. And I was just
Yeah.
like, wow. The only scene I thought was really, and even like Loki, I wanted more from the Loki like battle. And I'm like, oh, you got him. And even throughout the volumes that I've read up till now, they keep saying like you can't just punch your way through things. And I'm like, that is how you win everything, with just punching? Like there's not
No. She has
Something
to,
else,
yeah.
anything
See,
big, like that's it.
I feel like going back and reading this, I feel like G. Willow Wilson must have, let's put it this way. As a whole, 10 volumes, it's a very strong series, I think. I think it's solid. I think that when you go back and you look at it piece by piece, it makes it kind of hard because it's almost like she knew the whole storyline, which is good, but she just cut it up into issues. And so what we get is that sometimes your standalone issues are not working well, but the overall story is pretty decent. I was not always a huge fan of the insertion of random Marvel characters that don't even really end up playing a big role. Like Iron Man is definitely needed with, of course, with purpose. Captain Marvel definitely is supposed to be in the story, but like having Wolverine in volume 2, I'm like, what, like for what? You know what I'm
And
saying?
then
Like it just
they made it seem like he was about to be her mentor. Like he,
yeah. Yeah.
said, based on what the Shek said, and also shout out to the Shek. I love that scene when they had a conversation. That was
Mhm.
like one of my favorite parts of that volume. But the Shek was like, look, you got to find somebody to help you out of what you're trying to do. And then Wolverine came around and he was making jokes about him being old. And I said, same, because my knees hasn't worked since 99. And I
Mhm.
was just sitting there looking and just really, engaged in the story. And I'm thinking Wolverine, who I really like Wolverine. I don't know if anybody else does, but I do. I really like Wolverine. And I'm probably going to read one of the comics one day. That was a side note, a tangent. But what I'm saying is, I thought we were going to get more of him, and we didn't.
Mhm. Yeah, we
I was
didn't.
like, y'all setting him up to be this mentor. We need
And
him
he's
in
not.
each volume. Like, we don't need him in each issue, of course. Like, you ain't got to do all that. But we need him in each volume. So I'm like, are they switching up mentors? Like, I'm
Mhm.
I'm just finding it hard to track the characters, which makes it a little bit hard for me to uh, digest, because in other comics that I read, it's easier for me to track the characters even in their unpredictiveness. But
Mhm.
here I'm having a difficult time tracking the characters and what's going on. I literally go to each issue confused.
I think too that what she was trying to do was put Kamala in a universe that had already existed and kind of it's weird because it's almost like she wasn't trying so hard to make it inaccessible or unaccessible or is it inaccessible? Is it inaccessible for people who are not huge Marvel readers, but at the same time because it would be so interwoven with it, like you can't ignore. So I feel like in some ways by introducing these characters, she was trying to tie everything together, but lightly, but it just doesn't work because no one really has any substance when you bring them in for one issue and then they just run out. And it's like, okay, like then we had, I can't remember if it was in volume 3 or 4, we had like a back issue between like her and Peter Parker and also Silk.
Four. That would have been four.
Okay, yeah, it was like Peter Parker. It was Peter Parker, Silk, and her. Like it was just kind of. It's just one of those things where we're introducing characters to reaffirm the fact that she is part of this Marvel universe,
But it
and not.
wasn't done seamlessly.
No,
For
it
me.
wasn't done. No, and it truly isn't, and that's probably one of my biggest criticisms about this because I think the character study and the kind of some of the social commentary that she's making through what Kamala goes through and by using especially Hydra, which I thought was she used Hydra as a huge point into making some of the social commentary that she wanted to make, which wasn't super heavy-handed in every place, which I appreciated. But I think that it wasn't woven in the way that I think she wanted it to be woven in. So I I'm always torn about that because I like seeing Loki, I like seeing Wolverine, but they were not consistent enough in order to justify having them there. Like
Yeah.
Loki literally did not serve, like he served his purpose whenever, and I'm jumping ahead here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he served his purpose when there was this huge quote unquote supposed cataclysmic event that was supposed to happen. He served his purpose then, but it was one of those like in and out. Like you're in and out. You're in it, like these people are in and out. They're not really, it's just a reminder that hey, like, this is an independent story, but Kamala is a part of the Marvel universe, and it's like we know that. So you don't have to throw in random characters or create
Yeah.
these random back issues. Like the thing with, I'm not gonna lie, like the issue with Peter Parker and Silk and Kamala made me want to read more about Silk, but like
Yeah.
I didn't see like the grand scheme of why that story needed to be there, except that it was tying into amazing. I think it was Amazing Spider-Man. So,
My thing was, I felt like she should have kept the dog in more issues. Um,
oh
I
yeah.
really liked the dog being a companion for Miss Marvel and helping her with her what is it called, discernment.
Hmm.
And then what really threw me off, and I don't know if anybody else read this or maybe I was in another world or not thinking at all, whatever. There was a volume, not a volume, an issue where the guy she had a crush on, the person who was in charge of his little group
Hmm.
it was like, hey, she got away. Dude was like, let her get away. He's like, but she is the last of the cons. And he's like, she's not the only con. And then I'm thinking, oh, there's another inhuman in the family, right? And then we go directly into the Shields, and there's a brown woman, and I'm thinking, is this a long lost sibling, cousin? Like I couldn't get off of that. I
Hmm.
kept thinking like maybe they're related or something. It was just like a lot of stuff about her life that we didn't know, and there was
Hmm.
some similarities that they shared. So I'm thinking maybe this is a relative that we don't
Hmm.
know. Now we're about to see more seamless introductions into other Marvel characters, and that did
Hmm.
not happen. Was I off? Did you even think that?
Well, because I knew who the other con was that they were talking about, so it's kind of
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's kind of
yeah,
hard for me to like say because it's not my. I wish this was my first go round reading it, which
yeah.
kind of spoils some of those first go round reactions. Because for me reading that, I'm like, yeah, I knew exactly what they're talking about, but I'm sure that if my first time reading it, I wasn't as secure because I didn't know. So I can't say yes or no because I
Yeah,
already
I was
knew
like, oh
it.
my
I already
God,
knew
the
what they
shit
were talking about. Yeah.
is a sibling. Like dad was doing low key shit on the side. I was like, I
No,
had a
no,
whole
nothing like
thing
that.
in my mind, and that
Yeah.
it just did not give that.
But see, it all goes back to like, which I don't think that this aspect of it was necessarily like really drilled down to an understand. You find out why they think that she's not the only one who could possibly be inhuman. And that ties all the way back to her great grandmother
Whoa.
and her mother when they were fleeing India and going to Pakistan. Like it's a lot of that stuff comes out. I still don't think it was like the most clear explanation because I think that to get that clear, like you really have to drill down to what the Kree are and what Inhumans are. And I know that she probably didn't even want to like there's not enough room within the framework of what she was doing with this to even explain it. But she gave it. She touched on it a little bit, and I can't remember at this point. I can't remember what volume it was in because they're all just kind of like running together in my head at this point. But she does talk about that a little bit and how genetically there could be more than just Kamala who would have had inhuman or inhuman capabilities. And that's all I'm gonna say. Cause I like it's so hard for me to tiptoe because I don't want to spoil. I don't want to unless y'all give me the guidance to do that. I just don't want to because I know some people are probably like, oh yeah, I probably want to pick up the rest of the volumes if you didn't read them now. And the assignment technically was only to read volumes 1 through 3, even though I know when we met last month, when we talked about sheets and stuff, we were talking about us possibly reading the entire run if you wanted to read the entire run. So um I may just like not say anything and then say like if you want spoilers or if you don't want to see spoilers, like stop watching at this point. But all of that stuff does get somewhat explained. So yeah. Um
I'm here either way.
you said you're here other way.
Yeah.
Um
I
anything
understand the
go ahead.
spoiler. I said I understand people don't want spoilers. For me,
Yeah.
with comics and graphic novels, spoilers are literally a tiny moment in time. So I don't be caring.
Yeah.
It's literally a spoiler can be a panel or a page,
It could
and
be.
then you go to the page. So it's not a big deal for me. Versus a book, I might will fight you in these streets.
Yeah. I think
If it's like
comics read so differently that I think that it's kind of hard, like, because there's so much, especially with stuff like this. Like, so at one point you're introduced to Nova and Miles Morales, literally in an issue. Um, I forget what volume this is in. This is not a spoiler, but you're introduced to Nova and Miles Morales as Spider-Man. And it's important because those three together actually tie into another comic book run, which is called Champions, another comic book series, which is like younger versions of these superheroes who have issues with the Avengers. Because the Avengers are the grown-ups not doing like I feel like I read like maybe 1 or 2 issues of Champions, and I need to continue it because I actually like the fact that they addressed the idea that the Avengers would go into cities and they would fight the bad people and they would destroy these communities and not stay and help clean up and fix what they destroyed. They would just leave. And I think like Kamala and Miles and I forget what Nova's real name is, but they like they address that they have a problem with the Avengers. Like they have an issue as like the younger generation looking at this older generation of Avengers. They have a problem with like all of that. Like, so it's interesting how some of this stuff was set up because now that I've reread it, I'm like, oh yeah, well this was a perfect segue into Champions, and this is a perfect segue into seeing Kamala in other like in other places in the Marvel universe. Marvel's so interconnected. I mean, so is DC, but I always feel like Marvel's interconnectedness is on a different level. Like it just you can't read anything as like a standalone truly with them. That's just my thoughts.
I don't think there's no lies there. Side note, super side note, I've been trying to slowly collect the entire series of Lock and Key before we read it in October. And when I tell you my excitement, I just want to start right now, but I can't.
Are you doing issue by issue or are you doing volumes?
Volume. So I
Okay.
haven't been able to find volume 1, but I've found volume 2, 3, and 4. I'm struggling, but I'm
I
gonna
don't
look
think I
for.
have an additional copy. I have to look, Bree, and see if I have an additional copy of volume 1. I don't know if I do.
Because I'm
But that
looking on
one,
books right now, and it's not given. They like out of stock. I wondered if
probably
half
because of
price
that daggone
books
TV
have
show.
what I need.
And that TV show is garbage, by the way.
Well, I really like the TV show, so I mean, I didn't read the comics. I'm just going on. You know what I mean?
The comics are much darker.
That's what I want.
Yeah,
Darkness.
it's definitely darker, more gritty, gory, the whole nine. Darker, just dark. So when I watched the first episode of the TV show, I was like, "What the hell is this? What is this filth? Like who
Not,
who
not
gave this to
Phil.
Primo?" Because
Not really.
I feel like Lock and Key is very adult, and I feel like the Lock and Key on Netflix is very like PG-13. You know, you can watch some of it with your kids, and I'm like, that was not the purpose of Lock and Key. Lock and Key is horror, um, because it is Joe Hill, so that was the intention. But Lock and Key, but sorry y'all, we are off on a tangent. But one thing I do want to think us to think about too, Bree, is with Lock and Key. I'm wondering if we should also consider the spin-offs, because Lock and Key, not like huge spin-offs, but Lock and Key has some one-shots that are also kind of worth checking out, I think too.
Okay, we should look and see what those are. I don't know
Yeah.
what they are, what their names are, but yeah.
I don't think I
Um,
know all of them either. I don't think I've read any of them, to be honest.
well,
I don't think I have. Maybe one, but I feel like there's a few.
yeah, nothing wrong with adding. Um, what's your thoughts on the relationship in Volume 3 of Miss Marvel?
I think it's typical. I mean, I think one of the things that I always have to remember in reading this is that Kamala is young. She's in high school. Um, I think it is a good it is a good kind of how do I describe it? Parallel to the relationship that she has with Bruno. I think that it's kind of it, I mean, as an adult, it was a red flag that like everything with them was in common. Like the like everything they shared too much in common, but I have to remember too, like as an adult, I know that that's a red flag. But as a teenager, would I have known that that was a red flag? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
but you coming at something of like your initial first thought is definitely with your adult lens, right?
Mhm.
But I found her processing of it to be funny. Not that like her pain was funny, but when she said, "Give me another hot dog, like another shot," oh, I hit the floor. Like
When
that,
she
that whole panel was like, "Give me another." I'm like, not her taking shots of hot dogs. Like, and it was just hilarious the way that was set up. It
it
was just so
was. It
yeah.
was. And I think too, like it's funny because I think that the brilliant aspect of what she does there is that that relationship, I think looking at it through an adult lens is kind of like, yikes, girl, like this was red flag from the get-go. But when she's taking those shots of hot dogs, it's like, girl, I've been there. I know.
Same. I was like, yeah, that's me with an adult beverage. But I've been there. I've been there. Being like,
I've
what?
been there. I've been there. I know what that feels like.
Talking
And
to strangers. I've been there.
one of the lines she says is, and one that really kind of struck a chord with me is when she said, when she first like wakes up, she doesn't remember, so everything is normal. And then as soon as she remembers, it's like, oh gosh, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a thing. And I can't tell y'all like how many times it's happened to me where I'm like, you completely forget, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm waking up normal, and then you're like, oh shit.
Or something reminds you, put you in your body without your permission. It's just
Yes.
like
Yes.
as I was listening to her just randomly talk about her crush situation with random people, it reminded me when I was leaving the airport recently, I just was trying to get home. I was not trying to converse with anyone. I did not care what anybody was doing. I already was mad that they changed the airline mask mandate while I was in a flight. I was already mad, and people were just out here letting their corona fly. But other than that, I was just sitting there. I just wanted to go home now, so I was like physically tired. And this lady from Texas, thick Texan accent, just decided to tell me how trash her ex husband is. And she's just going deep, like he's garbage. I don't want that. No, that's not for me. I don't want him or anybody else that comes around me. And she just like going in, and I'm just like, she's like, that ain't it. That ain't it for me. That is not it for me. I'm gonna take my kids. She's just going, and I'm just looking
Yeah,
at this lady like, if you don't shut up, like I don't care. Like I'm tired. Like I cannot be a therapist right now. I know I'm a
yeah,
therapist, but I cannot. Like I just, you're just, and I was traveling like literally in airports for 24 hours at this time. So I'm like, this
yeah.
lady is going on and on about her husband, and I
And you
said,
don't
you
want to
better
hear it.
talk about it. It ain't me.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's funny. So that was made that whole
Hmm.
situation volume two like more funny for me because I was like, oh, that's what that lady probably was like. Give me another shot of hot dogs.
Yep. I think too, like, it's a good balance of like of G. Willow Wilson like showing that it's a reminder that this is a teenager we're talking about, like there's still that showcasing of normal things that she would go through. Like, yes, without a doubt, she is a superhero, but she is still a teenager who's trying to figure out how to balance being a superhero, fitting her family's expectations,
Great.
and wanting to do normal teenage things like falling in love for the first time and getting her heart broken for the first time. Like, all of that stuff is just very, I think it's very important for it, or it was very important for that to be acknowledged, especially when we keep thinking about that theme of like not having mentorship this entire process. Like
Ooh.
not like literally, like, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, I'm halfway through my reread of Volume 9, and she never really truly gets mentorship. Like, she never really, like, I don't think there was anybody that was necessarily stable and consistent in providing her, except like her family, like there are points in which she'll pull like things that her dad has told her, things that her mother has told her, and that's what kind of gets her through, as opposed to like, Iron Man, coaching her constantly, or Captain Marvel is just a complete trash character in
Dang,
this. Like,
trash.
if this is your first experience or getting your first time like getting exposure to Captain Marvel, like, you're not gonna like her.
This is
Um,
the first time, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing.
and you're definitely not gonna like her by the time you get to Volume 6. You will not like her because well, okay, I will save that for when we say spoilers are allowed. But yeah, you won't like her by the time you get to Volume 6. It's a done deal by that point.
Not the
But
lady just being trash.
yeah, no, she does, because of the theme around. All right, y'all. You know what? Listen, that's volumes 1 through 3. 3 is where she gets into that relationship with that kid. They don't. It doesn't work out. He's not a good person. She gets her heart broken. Yada yada yada. Things pick up really a lot. You get a lot more traffic starting in volume 4 is where things kind of they start to build up. Um, and the reason why you won't like Captain Marvel is because volume 6 deals with like over policing,
Mm.
and Captain Marvel tries to coerce her, which really honestly pissed me off because she's young. She put Captain Marvel on a pedestal, like that's her namesake.
Yep.
You're using her in a situation where you and Iron Man are not getting along, because you and Iron Man have very different, because it's an inhuman who has predictive abilities to tell you basically the likelihood of a crime being committed before it happens.
Right.
Iron Man does not like the idea of using an inhuman in order to use, as crime prediction. That causes all types of issues. Captain Marvel uses Kamala being young, naive, wanting to look up to Captain Marvel, that's her namesake. She uses her to push her own agenda, which I'm so glad that her brother's wife, who was black and Muslim, tells her from the get-go, from the jump, be mindful of this whole predictive thing, because at what point do we consider someone who is likely to commit a crime like, when do we like redefine what being a criminal is?
Speak that.
Or what crime is, because once you start using predictive science to determine, you start creating situations where people don't even have a chance. You're creating new criminals that don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not even giving people a chance to correct their behavior, whatever the case may be. And it's policing and it's profiling. And every time that Kamala goes to tell Cap, like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like I something about this is not right, because you're essentially you're profiling people, and you're over policing. Like, you're doing this based on the likelihood that they may or may not have committed the crime, not that they've done it. And Cap is like, well, I need you to do this for me. I need you to. And she had her working with these group of people who power hungry. They were losing control. She's like, they're losing control. And here comes Cap. It's your job to keep them in line. It's your job to make sure to rein them in when they're losing control. I'm like, this girl's a child.
Exactly.
She's a child. How are you? And you're sending these kids were in college, by the way. The kids that were
Huh.
working with Kamala were in college, because one of them went to Rutgers. These kids are in college. You're asking a 15, 16-year-old child to get college students, and some in their 20s past college, under control, so you can have this predictive policing that is leading to more issues. And it's like, I didn't like, I just didn't like the position that she put her in,
Mm-hmm.
especially because you know what over policing and profiling does to communities of color. And you're dealing with a superhero who is a woman of color, who's also Muslim, who also is from, her family's from Pakistan. Like, there's just too many issues. And the fact that Captain Marvel, like, she just didn't consider any of that. It was very white. It was very white woman ish.
And that's what I was saying earlier. There were just things that was being told to her and done to her from a very Western lens, and I was like, "Are we forgetting that this family is Pakistani or Pakistani? Like, are we forgetting that?"
I I was just like, yo, like, bruh, like, and I couldn't remember why. I remember reading that volume because it was Civil War II, and it's tied into the Civil War II event, which I haven't read. But I remember reading that like years ago, because I think I read that in like maybe 2017, 2018 at the latest. And I was like, man, I said, I can't remember exactly what happens, but I said, I remember I hated Captain Marvel after reading this volume, and I couldn't remember why. Boy, I tell you, I read volume 6 today. I was like, that's exactly why I didn't like that woman. It's probably why I didn't like the Captain Marvel movie, because that was my first exposure
You're
to
like,
that
"Oh, I
woman
already put
before seeing
into."
the movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's giving
I
Waha.
was like, you've got to be. And it was so sad because she took so many, and like, that's why I said the kind of tone of the run changes, because in that whole section there, you like, she's she's having to deal with losing Captain Marvel as a friend, as what she thought was a mentor, but I mean, in reality, she wasn't a mentor. Um, she has to deal with Bruno getting hurt. Like, it just was like, she goes through a lot, and she ends up going through this huge like identity crisis. So much that in volume 9, for the first, I think, 3 issues of volume 9, she's not even on page at all. She's nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
It's her
yeah.
friends. Yeah, it's her friends who are trying to basically keep things going for Miss Marvel, even though it's not her.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting how she kind of develops that story, and everything eventually just ties in together. But I think one of the things that I did like is that, if you are not familiar with Hydra and how Hydra had ties to the Nazis and all that stuff, how she uses Hydra to kind of address things like voter suppression and gerrymandering. And because in one, I forget what, I like I said, it's all jumbled up now, but like, somebody tries to redraw lines in order to make sure that this one person could win, and this person was tied to Hydra, and um, Hydra trying to engage in gentrification, and Hydra is involved with, what was the other thing that Hydra did? So it was the gerrymandering, the gentrification, and it was
I
something
was
else,
out here in
y'all.
East Street. I can't remember. I'm only thinking about the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not even so it is Hydra in the sense that it is the same Hydra that you're thinking about from Winter Soldier, but it is Hydra coming in because Hydra has been around according to like Marvel. I would say
Forever.
Marvel mythology. Yeah, they've been around for forever.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people know Hydra as it relates to like their involvement with like their reconception, like in World War II, and their tied to the Nazi Party and all that stuff like that. So to think about what the Nazis stood for, and I think she took that kind of imagery of what Hydra was for the Nazi Party, bringing them into Miss Marvel and having them engage in things like gentrification and gerrymandering and like basically saying like we want Jersey City back, and it really it forces her to kind of have to tackle issues without punching her way through things, which is what I was like. It does change. I think it starts with like her trying to punch her way through everything. And then when she gets to these more complex issues like the voter suppression thing, they were like she had to have her friend come through and say, "You can't punch your way through this. You can't you can't just knock people down because it's not going to change anything at the end of the day because this is a political move. So you have to be able to like adjust and make changes without punching people. You've got to think strategically about this." So she does learn that balance between like getting into a physical altercation and kind of like meeting people on a different playing field, which I thought was great. Jessica, I agree. Like Zoe is great. Zoe makes a whole entire 180 for those of you like who haven't read past volume 3. Like Zoe is not a great person at all. Zoe was horrible. Zoe was the same person who told Kamala that she say she smelled like curry? I felt like she said something along those lines, like she stunk or it smelled strongly of curry, so she was gonna leave the area. She completely does a 180 during that entire like by the time you get into later volumes. But yeah, I don't want to like I don't want to like say too much. I feel like if I say too much, I'm gonna spoil way, way, way too much.
Listen, like I said, it's a panel
Yeah, yeah.
or page. Like I feel like in like a book with I don't even know what you a book with more words. I don't know. Like in the other book. You know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
a book like this, I will say, in a book like this, you can spoil something and it be the whole damn plot.
Yeah,
The
you're
whole
right.
situation. Versus, I feel like you get a couple plots in each issue, so it's okay.
I think volume 5 for me also was kind of that point where you really, 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 really see her struggle a lot with balancing like being a part of the Avengers and going to school and meeting her familial expectations because like her brother ends up getting engaged. And I think it was really interesting because first of all, I think her brother and his wife Taisha are like they're adorable. But it's interesting like coming from a cultural standpoint because of the fact that they meet, I believe, during do they meet during prayer or something? I forget. But they meet, they have chaperone dates. Kamala chaperones some of their dates. And they end up asking his parents, or he ends up, or they both end up sitting down and saying, like, we want to get married or whatever. And it kind of addresses the fact that, because before, like, Kamala's brother tells Bruno, like, you can't be with my sister. Like, my parents love you, they trust you, but you're white. And at the end of the day,
He said that in volume 3. I was so sad. I was like,
yeah.
no,
And
now we don't talk about Bruno again.
but listen, it's so sad because I'm switching gears here. I'll get back to what I was saying. Bruno and Kamala have such a great relationship, but Kamala is trash to Bruno.
She's a trash friend. We got to be honest. She is not a good friend to her friends.
She is not always the best friend, and it takes, like, so when that whole cataclysmic thing, which never happens, like, she knows that Bruno is in love with her. She loves Bruno too, but she's like, this is the first time I feel like I need to put my all into something, and I need to focus on being Miss Marvel. And so, like, if I end up, I end up focusing on this, and you and I are not together, I want you to be happy. So if you find someone else, like, that's okay. 8 months later, Bruno has a girlfriend, and
My thing,
Kamala freaks the F out.
it's my thing. I think the way the trajectory of this series is going, she is becoming having an addiction. An addiction don't always mean drugs and alcohol and such things. I
Mm-mm.
think she's becoming addicted to being a superhero,
She does.
and she is letting that rule her life versus what's actually happening in front of her.
Volume 5. You just described it in a nutshell. She becomes so addicted to being a damn Avenger. She misses ceremonies for her brother's engagement to Taisha. She doesn't show up to class. She ends up putting Bruno in a very, like, crappy situation. She gets pissed because Bruno has a girlfriend after you told him it's okay if you move on and you end up and you're happy with someone else. But you get pissed because you're so shocked that he has a girlfriend. Then she makes a fat phobic comment, which I completely forgot that she does it, because she gets little, and I think she says something. I think Bruno says something like, "Little Miss Marvel, like, freaks me out," or something like that. And then she makes some comment about, like, yeah, like, you're not so little, girlfriend. And Bruno was like, "Well, you didn't even have to do that," because his girlfriend, Michaela, but she goes by Mike. She's plus size. And, like, she throws shade. And I'm like, Kamala,
Uh-uh.
come on. Like, you've got to be better than that. You can't tell that man to go and be happy. And then he gets a girlfriend, and then it's like,
Oh,
oh,
you
I
mad?
can't believe,
Now you
I
mad
can't
at
believe
race
you.
white folks.
Yes, right? She fat shamed Mike, and then Bruno said, don't be that guy. Bruno said, "Don't be that guy," and I had to read, like, Jessica. I had to reread that panel a couple times because I was like, "Who was Bruno talking to?" And I was like, "Oh, he's talking to Kamal. Don't be that guy." But it's interesting because, like, their relationship gets so bad. It really does. It was like he loved her. Her brother was like, "You can't love her. It's never gonna work. You're
Yeah.
white. You're Italian. She's Muslim." And I think he's Catholic. He's like, "You're white, Italian, and Catholic. She's Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Pakistani." And my parents will never go for it because they don't want us to lose those traditions. So I thought it was so interesting because
And the
Taisha's
cultures.
black. Yeah, Taisha's black. And
Yeah, I
his
guess
parents are like,
when you're brown, you can fit in.
but
I want to
no.
say, not to cut you off, but when the brother said this, and Bruno, oh, Miskeen, when he was like, when Bruno was like, what did Bruno say? Bruno was like, I thought y'all wouldn't care because we both come from immigrant families. I was like, oh, the naivete.
Listen, listen. I,
Naivete.
it was just so naive to think that their immigrant experiences were going to be, like, exactly the same.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see, like, with Taisha, like, his family was kind of like, and then they're like, surely you're not being prejudiced. And they were like, no, 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 we would never be pregnant. But she was like, she was upholding their traditions because she was black, she was Muslim, practicing Muslim. And it was interesting seeing their two families meet. So you have her black parents meeting his Pakistani parents, and they were just like,
Showing up to the cookout.
and the brother, and Taisha's brother is an atheist. So it was just a hot mess. But it was interesting. But yeah, like her and Bruno like have a serious falling out. The Bruno like leaves and goes to freaking Wakanda.
Damn.
Bruno said, I'm leaving to get away from you and I'm going to Wakanda. And I don't want you to talk to me at all. I'm not gonna even say bye to you because I just don't like it's done. Like, I want nothing to do with you. This man goes all the way to Wakanda. All the way. And that's why I blame Captain Marvel. I mean, Kamala made her own decision, but I blame Captain Marvel so much because of the fact that she completely lost Bruno through all of that. And when that whole situation happened with Captain Marvel, she went through a serious identity crisis. She went back to Pakistan following that because she just didn't know who she was anymore at that point. She like she was so lost and confused that she had to go to Pakistan, and she, kind of she got some of her energy back, but when she came back, she lost it again. And that's where we're at in volume 9, where because she meets this guy, Red Dagger. So there's a little bit of a love triangle that happens. But I think that her and Red Dagger, I ship them together so hard. So,
Not you
so hard.
shipped them together so
I
hard.
do. He just, he's a sweetheart. Like, I think Bruno is too, but I think that he understands a little bit more. Like, he is a family friend. He grew up in Pakistan. He's only in the States, in Jersey, because of he needed a foreign language credit, and his parents allowed him to go to Jersey, and they don't know each other's secret identities. So I think they kind of are getting that feeling that, okay, like when Kamala came to Pakistan, all of a sudden Miss Marvel was there. When he came to New Jersey, all of a sudden Red Dagger was there. So it was kind of like, yeah, like
When
y'all
did,
know, like yeah, y'all know.
when did
Uh,
we get that? What volume is that? Maybe I'll skip.
8.
Damn, that's too far to skip.
It's 6, 7. 6 is Civil War. 7 is second. Is it minutes per second or something like that? So 6 is the Civil War issue where Cap and her fallout. 7, we get Bruno and Wakanda. She's dealing with that fallout. 8, I don't think he's still there in 8, somewhere around those. So I would say about 7, 8, and 9 is where we see them. Red Dagger really enters 7, 8, and 9. I think that's got to be the range. I don't feel like we stayed on the negative side of it. I think that the introduction, the beginning of this is rough. I won't say that it's not a good run. I still think it's a very solid run, and I do feel like it's one that I will always highly recommend because it's the build up that leads to great character development. And we haven't really gone into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 because everybody hasn't read it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of teetering, I'm jumping around a little bit, but if we're talking about the first 3 volumes, I wouldn't take the first 3 volumes and characterize this whole run by the first 3 volumes because the
Can
first
I
3
make
volumes, go ahead.
can I make a request?
Yes.
How about you do a live show of all the volumes? I mean, you're already on 9. You have one more to read.
Yeah. I have one more to read.
And maybe
I
if it's
can.
far out enough, I'll tune in.
Yeah, we could definitely, yeah, we definitely can. Um, yeah, we definitely can. We'll just have to pick a date.
Yeah, because talking about all 10 volumes tonight,
Mhm. It would, yeah, it would be, it would, I know we said we would do it, but honestly, honest to God, like it would be too much. And I literally am jumping around from volumes 4 to 9, not even talking about 10 and not even talking about them really in detail. I think that the strongest aspects of this are going to be your character development. The fact that we are looking at a superhero that is a teenager. We get that with Peter Parker when he's young, but I think that seeing a young teenage superhero that's Muslim, that's Pakistani, that um is going through normal teenage things while also trying to fit in with the Avengers is something that it's well done. And the way that she uses certain elements, like even going back to Hydra, she addresses a lot of different things that I think are very common when you're dealing with a superhero of color. I think a lot of times with comics, because they cater to a white male audience, they try to steer away from making social commentary. I always go back to the fact that comics, for the most part, have always been dominated by white men. That's their end game. That's how they've been. I think when you have someone like G. Willow Wilson who steps in, writing from a perspective of someone who is a person of color, who I believe she is Muslim. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe that she is. When you have someone coming into the comic book industry from that perspective, you're going to get things that you typically would not get in a comic book because you're no longer catering to that white male audience. So that's the
right?
beauty of it. And this comic is older now. This is not something that's new. Volume 1 came out in, because Volume 5 came out in 2016. So you're looking at a Volume 1 came out in 2014. So you're looking at a series. Thank you, Jessica. You're looking at a series, that at this point is 8 years old. Am I doing the math right on that? Yes.
Listen, if you expect the math from me,
I was hoping you would come through and give me, some encouragement here. But yeah, you're looking at a series that essentially is 8 years old. This is not, so it was iconic of it to come through the way it came through in 2014. Now in 2022, the expectation is for comic book writers to be more diverse in their characters that they're using, and really think about what these characters would it be experiencing in like a true real world situation. Like that's kind of the expectation is coming that way. But in 2014, 8 years ago, like with Saga coming out, even a couple of years. Well, when did Saga drop? Did we ever figure that out? When did Saga come? Like 20,
was it
2008?
2004?
Was it 2004,
I
2008?
thought it was. It could have been
It's one
late.
of
I
those two
mean,
years.
mhm.
Um, when you have series that come out like that are pushing the envelope of what the comic book industry, I think, typically is, that's what makes them great. They're not without their flaws. Trust me. They're far from having flaws. And I think that, the first 3 volumes of this, no lie, they're weak. They are weak. But when you start jumping into volumes 4 through 10, you see a shift. And if you look at reviews on Goodreads, you'll see a lot of people who have read the entire run will say like certain volumes picked up for them. They're like, okay, this is things are picking up, or I'm liking where the story is going. The artwork is always going to be a hit or miss for people because it changes artists so much throughout the entire run. But I think that I think it is a, and I always give it to people who are looking for a place to start in Marvel. It's hard for me to give a good starting point for Marvel because Marvel doesn't reboot as much as DC does. DC has a habit of rebooting. So it's easier. Thank you, Jessica. Came out in 2012. it's easier for me to give people a starting place with DC. I can tell them, um pick up DC Rebirth, or pick up New 52, or pick up Future State, or pick up Infinite Frontier stuff, and you're getting a new, exposure as a beginner reader. But with Marvel, it's I feel like it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, it is a lot of like pick a character, pick a writer, and hope and pray that it's something that you enjoy. So the fact that I'm not as in depth with Marvel, I'm not as big of a Marvel reader, as I am a DC reader, and then I picked this up and I read 10 volumes of it. Yeah, that's a huge thing for me. That's a huge thing for me. And and like I said before, like, what's my cup of tea is not gonna always be y'all's cup of tea either. And what y'all may like, I may not always like. Um, the whole purpose of this is for old and new readers to kind of like discover new things, and maybe you'll find something that you'll cling to and that you like, or maybe you'll find some stuff you're like, oh, that wasn't really for me, but I'm glad that I was exposed to it. So that's the whole purpose. All right, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox.
It
I'm off of it.
was 2012 it came out. Why did I think 2004? What am I reading that? Oh, it was Sookie Stackhouse. Damn it.
Sookie Stackhouse be reading like it came out in the 80s.
This 50s actually.
Oh my gosh.
I'm starting to think the author don't like black folks. Don't like
I
people
wouldn't
of
be
color.
surprised. Okay, so let's wrap this up. You know how we always do this. We wrap this up by, are there any comics? Well, Bree, you're not really reading anything right now, are you? Is anybody in the comments, are y'all reading any comics or graphic novels right now that you're really enjoying, or is this the only thing that you've picked up?
Yeah, it's more than starting to. It's damn near a fact.
Yeah.
It's giving fact.
I will have read 30 volumes of manga this month.
Damn.
Yeah,
I
isn't that
was trying
crazy?
to do that, but that didn't happen.
I have
So
I have one volume to read. No, two volumes to read tonight, and I'll be caught up.
wow. I bet you've been having fun though.
I've been having fun because I've been discovering new series that I think I never would have picked up if I hadn't done the 30 and 30 challenge. So, Blood on the Tracks. Baby, if you like horror, thriller,
So you're really
mess,
trying to tell me to read this.
I'm
You
really
said it
telling
on
you, Brie.
purpose.
Really, honestly, I was trying to be like, Brie, you need to. But honestly, if you can find, like, if you thought Monster was good, because
I
you've read Monster,
love Monster. You know
yeah,
I do.
yeah, you
Love
need to read Blood on
Monster.
the Tracks.
How many volumes?
Right now, I think 9 are published in English. But hear
Oh,
me out.
I gotta go get 4 and 5, volume 4 and 5 of Monsters from the library. I gotta do that tomorrow.
Hear me out, though, with this one. They read in 30 minutes, no lie, because it's more about the art than the actual text. It's the art that's petrifying. It is so scary. I've never been so disturbed reading a manga before. Like, this manga literally makes me cringe and disturbs me. And I've never had that experience. It's a very awkward experience.
Was it
I
before? Is it as scary as Uzumaki?
It's not like, see, I feel like, because I read a Junji Ito for the first time this month too, and I feel like Junji's very body horror.
Okay.
This is psychological horror.
Okay.
Mommy's not right. Mommy's all types of messed up. Okay, mommy has a very awkward relationship with her son, and there's a lot of content warnings for it, like, and I didn't realize until I got to volume, like, maybe 6 or 7. There's a lot of, and I haven't really, like, seen too many people, like, gaslighting, child abuse, like, it is a thing. Um, but that's all I can say. That's all, like,
It's
literally, that's all I can say. But, like, I've read that. I read, like I said, I read my first Shinji Ito, which was Dissolving Classroom. It was okay. I don't think it should have been my first Shinji Ito, but it was. I've been
that.
reading a lot of queer manga.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, BL and Yuri. Um,
my little sister loves BL. And she gets mad
I
at me because I can never talk to her about it because it's unless BL is in horror or thriller, I'm not reading it.
It's so good. And I haven't read any that are like they've all been contemporary. They've all been like super contemporary. But the one that I did read, oh, then I read one that's Left Me for Who I Am, which has the main character in that one is non-binary. It's
Okay.
really, really good. That one's really, really good. Um, but I had heard a lot of good things about that one before I had read it. Um, been reading a lot of Food Wars.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
manga I can't return
You
to,
can't,
but
I
I
know, I
love
know. We talked about that one. We
I know
did.
how you love it, girl. I know how
Yeah.
you love
The artist was a hentai.
it.
So if that's not your thing, it's it's not, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of fan service. And although it does slow down, but I get like people like, can't do it. Can't do the fan service. I know a lot of people who don't like fan service.
What's explain that to me?
So fan service is like, remember how you were like, it feels like it's like hypersexualized and it's a lot of like literally like they're having food orgasms and on page it looks like they're literally having an orgasm.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, like it's often done to women in manga, and it's very, I feel like it's a very, and I could be wrong by saying this, but I feel like it's a very like, cultural thing when it comes to manga to have stuff like fan service where things like are not sexually explicit, but they toe that line of
Hmm.
being sexually explicit. Um and some people don't like it. Like some people will ask like if this manga has like does it have fan service? If it has fan service, like I'm not a fan of it. Um I don't mind fan service but I also respect people who are like it's a no for me.
I really want to finish Drops of God because I was
So
really
do
enjoying.
I. Oh, I
Yeah, I
need to
was
finish
really
it.
enjoying it.
Yeah, I do. That's the one that I think I was never anticipating enjoying, but man, that is a good manga.
It is. It
It is a
is.
good manga series. Like it's so good.
Yeah, I
Oh my
enjoyed
gosh.
it.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I also have gone back to reading my stuff for Carnage. So I'm not even getting to that, but I've been reading some single issues on Marvel Unlimited dealing with Carnage and I think I'm finally on Maximum Carnage, which is the whole I'm reading the trade copy of that one, which has been good, but it's been dark, but it's heavily Spider-Man related stuff,
When
which,
did
you
you
know,
when did you first start getting into uh manga? Like when did you start?
2016. So it's been about 6 years. The first manga that I read, and it's so amazing, like how I could look back now and just really, like remember the feelings that I got when I read. That's why I'm so very attached to Nana and Food Wars because those are like my very first steps into reading manga, and you should have seen my face when I figured out that there were animes attached to both of them. I like lost my shit.
What? It's kind of good.
Especially Nana. I was like, oh, I can't believe that there's an anime for Nana. There's an anime for Food Wars. Like, I, um, yeah, yeah,
Man, who
yeah,
knows? I'm out here living, y'all.
yeah. That was the first time I got exposed, and then ever since then. But I'm glad that Shay, it's Shay, Tamika, and Izzy who were doing the 30 and 30, and I'm glad that like I tried to do it this time
Are they
because
doing
like
it again this year or just once a year?
I feel like they do it twice a year.
Because I hope that I'm in a better space to do it next time.
It's and I hope that I'll ask them if they're going to do it again, because I think that it first of all it's more challenging than what even I gave it credit for. I was like 30 volumes of manga, that's nothing. Yeah, there were nights when I was reading like 4 or 5 volumes and it would take me forever. Like it would take me forever to do it.
I think it depends on the volume. Like a volume of Monster is like 300 pages.
Yeah. And if it's text heavy, so Food Wars is they're not more than like 192 pages a piece. That was a very specific number.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know
said
why that number.
92 pages, That's it.
Whatever. They're usually not even more than 200 pages, but they take long to read
Mhm.
because Food Wars is text heavy. Because
Yeah.
it's so specific with the food science and all that stuff. So it takes me forever to read a volume of Food Wars. So I think like, whereas I read a volume of Blood on the Tracks and it was like clockwork. But like I found series that I would have never picked up, like Laid Back Camp, which literally is about a group of girls who go camping in the winter. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's so chill. Like
Yeah, it's a vibe.
it's a vibe. It is a vibe. It's so relaxing. That one and Days on Fez, which is about two girls who like going to music festivals. Vibe. Straight vibe. Like so no major plot within either one of those series. But I have all of like I keep putting volumes on hold because I'm like, this is so good. This is but I would have never. Oh, it is 192 Are you serious? Are they 192 pages for real?
I think we got to head out. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Live it up.
What?
This mug here.
Wow. Wow. I literally was like, I don't know why it's at 192. Wow. Okay, that's wild. Yeah, I like slice of life manga too. I'm the one that I'm having trouble with is what's the one with the dad who teaches his daughter he's learning how to cook for his daughter? Sweetness and Lightning. I struggle with that one. People really, really like Sweetness and Lightning. Is definitely very much so slice of life, but it's not one that I like actively. I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. I did not know that.
Question.
That's
Oh,
wild. I didn't know. I genuinely did not know that.
okay. So with 30 days of manga, you have to read the first volume of 30 different mangas.
No, you just read 30 volumes of any manga.
Literally, you can do that with Food Wars.
Yeah, literally, you could read the whole entire run of Food Wars, and because was it 36? Yeah,
Or Black Butler. I love Black Butler, but I've been finding a hard time on getting my hands on Black Butler. I've
because it's
only
so
read
old.
volume 1 through 3.
I think that have you looked on thrift books?
I'm looking right now.
I think with the older, what I like, because at some point they stopped printing them,
Oh,
so
that's
they
messed
become
up.
yeah, so they become hard. Like Nana is a trip to find. I have volumes 4 through 22 of Nana. but getting my hands on volumes 1, 2, and 3 has been a shit show. I've read them, but I mean, like, I would love to own them physically. I even got volume 7.8, which is in Japanese. I'm never gonna read that. But I love the series so much. I was like, I need volume 7.8. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
like some,
it looks like it's 31 volumes of Black Butler.
yeah. I have volumes, and I've gotten most of my volumes from thrift books. That's why I asked you if you had looked on there, because I have volumes 1 through 5.
Of Black Butler?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like $9, 5, 6. I see. I might have to just buy like 4 volumes a month or something. It's getting expensive. There's a movie? Shut up.
I didn't know there was a movie. I've watched some of the anime.
It's in English, 2 hours.
Y'all are making me like wanna watch some anime tonight. Although I need to get some reading done.
And
But it's like, oh, I
yeah,
want to watch anime.
I gotta finish this book tomorrow. I
Oh,
gotta finish the book for tomorrow.
hey, babe.
It's
This is
my
your third
third.
30 and 30? Yeah, it is intense. Have
Oh,
you read your
third.
30? You said you read all of book
Oh,
5 on Saturday. Yeah, I was on there live because um, Tamika, Izzy, and May did sprints on Saturday from 2 till 9 o'clock. Something you would do, essentially.
wait, say it again. Say it again.
I said Shay, Tamika, Izzy, and May did sprints on Saturday for 30 and 30 from 2 until 9 o'clock. 2 p.m. until 9 p.m. EST.
Were you participating?
I was in the comments, but I was at that food truck festival on Saturday. So I didn't join them until like
Oh,
maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock that night.
I think I was at a baby shower. Yeah, in Phoenix. I was at a
Yeah, you
baby shower.
were, because you called me that Sunday. You called me the next day.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. So you did send us that tweet, and I screenshotted the tweet that you sent us because I have been meaning to get into this new phase of X-Men because I was trying to catch up before they got to the Hellfire Gala, which happened last year. And I did not read. There was no way I was going to catch up to get to the Hellfire Gala. But I'm glad that whole reading thing exists, so that because I have the bind up of House of X and Powers of X. I have that one, and then I have the first volume that you're supposed to read after you finish that bind up. But I will say that House of X and Powers of X, which is something Brie we can consider doing because it's on Hoopla.
You know my addiction with hoopla.
Yeah,
Let
so if anybody's
me,
interested in doing that, we can do that because all of the necessary volumes to do the reading, the reading order that was on Twitter, like all that stuff is on Hoopla.
you sent me this, right?
What?
I feel like you sent me this tweet.
I didn't. Scarlet Moon Creation sent it to both of us on Twitter.
Okay, I was like, somebody sent this tweet
Mm-hmm.
and I was excited. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that. Listen, I'm down for X-Men. Shout out to my mom who got me really into X-Men.
Oh. Yeah, we can do.
It's
We.
been a year. This has been a month of DNFs, I'm seeing. I tried to read this book. I guess I can say something. I tried to read this book. Well, okay, side note. I'm going to finish a couple volumes of Moon Knight next month. That has to happen. Me and my friend Grandma is watching Moon Knight together on Disney Plus. I'm
Mhm.
loving it. So I need to figure out the comics. Apart from that, I started reading Murder Book and it was stupid. So I don't think I'm going to finish that. But yeah, my mom got me into X-Men as a kid. She would make me watch everyone with her. I didn't get into the comics because I doubt my mom knew what comics was. I didn't know
Mhm.
until I met you, really, if I'm being honest. I thought comics was
Mhm.
like something you had to go find in a dark basement with a bunch of nerds. And like all this
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, I
Wow.
had those preconceived notions. I won't lie to y'all on Beyonce's internet. It was definitely stereotype AF, but not anymore. But I really want. Ooh, this is issue 1 through 14 of Moon Knight. 303 pages. Is
Yeah,
that
what is this
Moon?
called? Yeah. Yeah,
The
Douglas Wolk made a guide for reading the past 3 years worth of X-Men and related comics in collected edition form. And
Yeah.
to my understanding, most of these are on Hoopla. Like I know you start with House of X, Powers of X, and I know for a fact that that one is on Hoopla. I bought the physical copy because, yeah, and I will be honest with y'all, X-Men is going to be an area that I am not good. I'm not familiar with anything X-Men related.
So that
Some of the,
means those of you in the chat who are knowledgeable share that wealth.
yeah, I'm not as because to me, X-Men is its own entity when it comes to Marvel. Like I know that X-Men is a part of Marvel, but X-Men in itself is so complex and in some ways convoluted with information that I can't I've never kept up with X-Men. I've like never ever kept up with X-Men.
Only comic right now that I be burning and I read it as soon as the issue come out. I'm talking about that day is Saga. As soon as I see that issue come out, I read
You
it.
read it. I still haven't read issue 57.
Oh, that was good.
It was good.
I read it. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see what I wrote because I did a whole
Oh,
review.
there's such a review in
I did
90s
a whole
animated
review on.
series. Uh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not up to date. Like I've read stuff like with X-Men, especially when they did like Ultimate X-Men stuff in like the early
Yeah.
2000s, but I have not read like this new thing that they're going through right now where it all led to like the Hellfire Gala and all this other stuff. Like I'm not familiar with a lot of that stuff at all. I've been watching a lot of comic book creators kind of like talk about Hellfire Gala and some of them say that it's not like some parts of this 3 years worth of reading is good and some parts of it are just not that good.
Damn.
Yeah. So
That's a-
I I am excited though because we were talking about this on another live, Bree. I can't remember what live I was doing.
Is
We were
it, the,
talking
is
about this.
it the Sandman universe? Are we still gonna do that?
We're still
'Cause
gonna do that, but
I
we
made
probably should wait to the second half of this year to do it because I don't have the mind right now to sit down and we're that's a FaceTime call that you and I are gonna have to sit down and map because I've never read anything in the Sandman universe. Um,
I have, but not enough to do that. But
yeah,
I
we're
did
gonna have to map that out.
I did add a second sheet to the Excel sheet. It says Sandman Universe.
Sandman
So you can go ahead and
and
and,
map it
and
out.
look at that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we're
did.
gonna have to map that out and take a deeper look at that because Sandman has so many spin-offs. Like that probably is gonna have to be a whole year long type of thing. Kind of like you and Nicole and how y'all have like continued to kind of go like book by book with the Rick Riordan Presents. By the way,
Listen,
are y'all carrying that till next year?
I kind of want to stop, but I kind of don't. Does that make
'Cause
sense?
y'all can't stop because of all the books that are coming out this year
She said,
alone.
"You can't stop." But we. This is why I said, okay. My big proponent of stopping is that we have read shit that I have not liked. And I have
What
read
haven't
it
you
just
liked?
because King Chronicles
Everybody hates a King. I don't.
was
I rarely
giving
find somebody who likes that.
was giving garbage. Then there's a present series that we I don't know if me and just Nicole on the same wavelength, but we both were like, this is a horrible book. Like it's not horrible, but we just wasn't feeling it. So we're
What
gonna
was
try
it?
to read the second one. Oh my god, it's a present series. It's like this dude, he like the Storm Runner. Is that what it was?
Oh, are you
Oh,
talking about the damn, I feel like I know what book you're talking about.
it
Um
wasn't giving. Not at all. Not one piece of that was given. So I
wait,
was
hold on.
like, I don't like this.
Wait, hold on. Is
I
this
feel
um goodness gracious. Is it the one by JC?
Cervantes?
Yes.
No, I don't wait,
No?
hold on. We're reading The Firekeeper. Is that book two? Let me
Yeah, that's
see.
book two. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we don't like, so it was him. Sorry. So if we don't like this book, we're just gonna stop the series. I'm tired of
Dang.
reading stuff to completion when it's not. I could be reading a dope comic. Like to me, when I read comics and graphic novels, they tend to be more superior to other forms of reading I read. And I could have just read a comic or a graphic novel, yet I have spent my time and eyeballs reading a book with more words. I don't know how to describe that because they're all books, but like a book with my one word. And it just wasn't giving. So it wasn't giving, so I had to head out.
I
That was
have that one. I
um,
just got the audiobook copy of that one and I'm supposed to be reading it. Now I'm so nervous to read it.
what
I'm
Storm. It just none of it really. There was a lot of. This is the thing. I'm not a type of reader who's like there are plot holes. Like oh, I couldn't stand it. And I understand how people can say that about a book that they're reading and it's just
mhm,
too distracting. But I just feel like when I feel like a lot of things isn't connecting, it makes
mhm,
it really hard for me to want to engage in the world or whatever I'm reading.
mhm.
That's how I felt like with that one. Like I felt like a lot of things just wasn't connecting, and I was just like, I was like, ooh, I
I'm
don't
gonna go
want to
ahead.
read
I'm gonna
more.
go ahead and say I don't think that Suki has gotten better for Bree, but Bree can answer that.
It is still giving trash. It is still, but with Suki, I feel like I gotta know. I gotta know what happens in the end. You know how some be so bad, you still just gotta.
You
It's
still
so
got to
bad.
know what happens in the end. Yeah,
Yeah, there we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
That's where
Been
I'm
there.
at.
Definitely been there.
Cause
Um,
I'm reading Suki right now, and Suki, y'all, the live show's on Friday. Y'all can hear my thoughts then, but I'm still pissed off.
I'm
I'm
trying to
like,
see what other comics I have that I could tell y'all about because some stuff that we haven't. Let me go. Let me log out of this one. It's a shame I used my daughter's card for a Hoopla account too.
listen, I use my little cousins.
That's
There's
right.
no,
Because don't they have more checkouts?
yep, they have 24. So I'd be like, yes,
They got a good budget.
that's New Orleans Public Library,
Yeah,
baby.
that's a good budget. Um, phew, excuse me. Let me look at my favorites of newer stuff that maybe I have. Well, I went and favorited all the Venom and stuff, and um, I have been reading a lot of middle grade comics or graphic novels have been a thing for me lately as well.
Huh.
Hold on, I have a stack that has
Middle
been.
grade have really been doing something to me lately.
You said what?
Middle grade have really been doing something to me. I've enjoyed almost every middle grade I've been reading, and almost every, want to be honest. Oh, some of y'all may have seen today. Let me see. How do you take off this background thing and show y'all this? It's a virtual background. No
Where?
glare. Okay. I
Oh,
got this today from BB Elston. Painted pages. You can see that. That was pretty cool. Um, I wonder was this signed to me too? Oh yeah, this one was signed to me too. So this is now my second copy signed by the author and sent to me. Um, and then this is a fridge magnet. I want to be like those cool booktubers who like put it on their shelves and it be fancy. And then I got Amari and Elise. I need more of Elise in book 2. I'm praying on that because I listen. If anybody have like a fast paced middle grade that have dragons, send it my way because I'm gonna read that. I can't hear you.
Wings of Fire.
Wings of Fire.
I like it.
Okay. Is it as good as Tamora Pierce? Because that
I
just
think
sits in my
it's
mind with free.
it's a different thing. I wouldn't compare the two because I think Tamora Pierce with Alana, that's different. Wings of Fire is from the perspective of the dragons.
Nice. Wings of Fire. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
who did
so
the edge? I don't know who did the edges. But it's BB Alston, who I keep calling my cousin on the internet.
I'm so excited for the second book.
I keep
Okay,
saying, "Come
so this one is not middle grade, but I'm excited to read it. I don't know if y'all heard of this one. Himawari House. I just checked this one out. It's supposed to be really good.
that looks good." Are you
Yeah,
reading that for? Oh, that's thick. That's a
it
graphic
is thick.
novel.
I can't tell if it's supposed to be a manga or a graphic novel.
Huh. Are you reading that for May? Okay.
Oh, you mean for May? Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, if it's not due back, I may need to read this like this week before.
I've
But
been
this is
doing
the same illustrator who did George Takei's They Called Us Enemy. So
Oh,
yeah, it's the same illustrator. Um, this one is a middle grade one, and it's Living with Viola, which is a young girl who struggles, I think, with anxiety.
yeah.
So that one, this one is supposed to be really good too, that I've heard about. Marshmallow and Jordan.
I've heard of that. I
Yeah,
definitely
which is
heard
cute.
that.
Yeah, the artwork in this one is really, really pretty. Um, then this one, which I think is more of like a YA or teen, Messy Roots, a graphic memoir of a Wuhanese American.
A Wuhanese.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wuhan, yeah.
Wuhan. Right?
Wuhan. Yeah. I've heard interesting things about that one. And then this is one that I'm really, really excited to read, which is Manu.
Manu, is that like Polynesian?
I don't know. Honestly, Brie, I have no idea.
Yeah, don't quote me on nothing now. There was
I
on the other day, I was like, man, he looked like he could be Cuban. And I went to Wikipedia and he was Cuban. And I said, whew. And I only said that because of like the way he spoke Spanish, because I know a bunch of Cubans, and I was
yeah.
like, given Cuban, but Cuba.
No, she's the artist and author is Dominican.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So
Manu.
yeah.
Vixen of Fiction. My same thought. Elise's share. You going on Etsy? What's going on? I said, yeah, I was with y'all.
Oh, yes, I'm excited for this one too. Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor. Sorry, yeah, that does come out. I'm excited for that.
Is that a part of
Middle grade.
Presents? Oh,
No,
middle grade? Yeah.
I don't think it is. I don't feel like it is. I feel like this is just, but like all of the fantasy books, now are starting to look like Rick Rider in Prison's books, and they're not. This is not a Rick Rider in Prison. I was like, I don't think this one is, but it because of
They're
what's
starting to
going
look
on,
like it. They are all starting to look like it.
they
I
all
will
look
say
like it.
this. I will say this. Here I am outing myself. When I came to book 2, everybody was like, I'm reading middle grade. I'm like, y'all are adults. Read adult books, is what I was thinking in the back of my mind. Now I want to say that I am a hater, and that was completely fake.
Do
Because
you
the
realize the
way
error of
I
your ways?
read the era is garbage. Because I love reading middle grade. At first, I was like, man, I really about to read all these Rick Gordon presents, but I'm really liking the presents, except the one I talked about earlier, and I really enjoyed Rick Gordon's work. But now reading like other people like BB, Tamora, there's oh my god, I gotta find it.
I
It's
feel like
somewhere in
I
the house.
haven't.
I wrote a couple copies of it. Of this other series, middle grade series I'm starting. I'm just really liking I feel like middle grade for me is more digestible than young adult because the character in YA is just so immature that I'm just like I want to slap them up a bit because I had to grow up. I'm one of those people that had to grow up fast. I had to be an adult while in middle school and high school. But something
Mhm.
about middle grade, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense for this 12-year-old to be losing their shit. But to me, in my mind, I'm having like some issues. So it's more easier for me to digest and not be annoyed with middle graders than YA. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I thought I was
No, it
trying to
makes
make
sense. It makes perfect sense. I have been reading quite a bit of middle grade myself. That's been middle grade and children's. This month has been
yeah.
a huge thing. Justin A. Reynolds came out with one this month called "It's the End of the World." I'm in my bathing suit, and it had so much potential, but it didn't hit the way that I
Oh
wanted it.
no. Not
Yeah,
not doing the Lord's work.
it didn't. But you know what was good? Witchlings by Clarabelle A. Ortega.
Witchlings. Listen, that
It was
author
good.
never disappoints.
It was
The
good.
Squad of Ghosts, love that book.
It was good.
That
If you
author.
like that, like I think you're like Witchlings was good. I really
Also,
enjoyed it.
I was also jealous of everybody who got a little thing, little box. I think you were one of those people. So
Of
who
what?
got a little box with the Witchling stuff?
I didn't.
You didn't get it? Well,
No, but
okay.
I did get an
Layla,
Arusha box.
wow.
I didn't know I was getting it. So they sent me an Arusha because Arusha just got a graphic novel adaptation, right?
I know, yeah.
Yeah, so they sent me the box with a set of pajamas and a copy of the graphic novel.
I'm mad. My thing is, when they gonna put some respect on our name? My uncle Rick read a lot, but I ain't gonna lie, nobody really comes to him. It's like 10 people who are consistent, but we live our lives over there. Ain't no worries. But what I will say is, so far in the presents, Arusha is giving it. It's like Rusha, and then there's oh my god, is
Are
it?
y'all reading the fifth? Is it the fourth or the fifth? The fifth one? I think it's the fifth one.
I think we have just 4 in our list. We might
There's
have more because we did add some stuff.
So Arusha, the fifth book is called Arusha and the Nectar of Immortality. It just
We
came
did not
out,
add it. It just came out, right?
yeah, like last month, I think. February or March.
We didn't, but let me tell you, the Pandava, I'm loving that series. That's what
I've
it is,
got it.
right?
Dang it, y'all. I have the audiobook for Arusha and I need to go ahead and get her done
It's
because I have the
good.
first 3 books.
It's good. And listen, the one I just read, what is it? In the Death Song, the way they just dropped them hands, there's a bird in the story, right? Kind of, the bird's funny. The bird dropped a hint about another character and everybody was like, what, that character is not that character. And now we finally figured out like how that character is connected to the Pandavas, and I was shook. I had to give it 5 stars. I was to my core. I was like, what? So Arusha is really doing. I
Mhm.
hope they continue Arusha. Don't let us just be six.
I think it's 5. I think it's gonna be 5 and done.
Really?
I think so. I think it's gonna be 5 and done.
Oh, I
Okay.
guess. I wanted Magnum Chase to continue, and I ain't get a lot.
Yeah, you
So,
get 3 of those. I am reading Blood of Sion right
oh,
now,
how's that?
or Blood Scion, or whatever it's called. Okay, so I thought that The Gilded Ones was rough in terms of the depiction of child soldiers, but it ain't got nothing on Blood Scion. Like nothing. It is extremely graphic.
Yeah. See, I wanted to read The Daughters of what you said, the goddess. You really loved it.
Which
It's a
one?
really beautiful cover. Just came out.
Oh,
Daughters of
Daughter of the
some.
Moon Goddess.
Yeah, I wanted to read that, but you said it was a big political fantasy, and
It
I
is, yeah,
like
it is,
poly fantasy. And
yeah.
now since you said that, now I can't read this book. And I be
I
having
yeah,
FOMO, but
I feel like, I'm not sure like how I'm going to. I'm genuinely not sure how I'm gonna rate this one because, and this may be one of those decisions where I may not rate it because I feel like I get what I get what the author is doing with it, and it is a story that it should be told because it's a reality. Um, but my God, I mean, the Gilded Ones, I stopped at like 15% in because I was like, yo, this is a lot. And this one, like, I've been listening to it slowly over the past few days, and it's just like violence after violence and death after death and, attempted rape. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, my goodness gracious, it's
ah,
a lot. It is a lot.
ah,
Yeah.
that sounds
It's
like a lot.
I only listen to it in chunks, like, because I marked it 21% in, and I rarely ever do like updates on Goodreads while I'm reading a book. I didn't update it 21%, and I was like, what did I say? I said, oh, so this is dark as fuck. Like, I did not realize, yeah, it is
Oh,
good storytelling, but my goodness gracious, man.
it's only so much you can take.
Yeah, I mean,
It,
it,
it
it's
really is only.
The Yoruba like mythology in it is really cool, and I think that it's definitely an unforgettable story, but it is not for it's military. It's military fantasy without a doubt. It is a military fantasy. Um, but it is brutally honest. So
Well,
I don't yeah, I don't know how to, and you're dealing with characters that are like morally gray. Like your protagonist is not, so if you don't do well with like morally gray characters, like this is definitely like not a it won't be an easy read right there because you have to think that um she's getting conditioned to be a soldier, and she has to do things that are not they're not going to sit well with the reader at all. Um but it's a tactical strategy, I think. It very much so, not that they have anything in common except like I think if you've read The Poppy War, and you think about how Rin is very morally gray and but isn't put into positions where like she doesn't really have an option, it's kind of like that.
Hmm.
So yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it'd be like that.
Yeah, that one is yeah. 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 Yeah, that one's gonna be a tough one for me to talk. I don't even know what to say. Like that's gonna be a tough one to talk about because it's one of those books where it's like I can't rate it 5 stars because it's like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not enjoyable. The same is the same way for me with the Poppy War. Like I think I rated that one 4 stars. It wasn't an enjoyable book at all.
Damn.
No,
Did
Poppy
you
War was
finish the
not.
last one?
Nope. I didn't read the
I
second
did
nor the
not.
last one.
I didn't finish the last one either.
Yep, I did not because I had so much going on when we were supposed to read the second one. I never picked it up, and then I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm going to catch up for the final live show."
Yeah.
Which I think I know that Deidre had some kind of pause with the third book, but a lot of people who read the third book did not like it. That enjoyed the first two.
Yeah, I know I finished, not finished, but I started the third one, but then I like, life. So I'm in a big mood of like I'm not trying to force myself to read stuff
Yeah,
just to be reading.
just to say that you're reading. Yeah, yeah, I feel that. Not to
So,
read, just to say that you're reading. And yeah, I get that energy. I completely get that energy.
oh yes, at least he's finished them all.
So you finished them all. Did you like the third one since you finished it? Mm. But that's it really for me. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I feel
same.
like, yeah, I feel like I've been reading a lot of middle grade lately too myself because it's been a lot of good middle grade that's been coming out this year. I read The Duke and I.
Not the Duke and I DNF'd it.
Child.
I DNF'd it because it wasn't giving. It wasn't better than Bridgerton. So I said, I don't want to read it anymore. So I stopped
So
reading it.
I read it because I knew about the scene, but I wanted to read it and I wanted to start watching Bridgerton. And so I read it. I read it in like a day and a half because I was listening to it at work. Because my coworker, she was reading the second one. And I had just finished a book. I had finished a middle grade book. And she was like, she's like, the second book is better than the first one. I was like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to listen to the first one. Because, like, is it on Libby? She's like, yeah, it's available. So I checked it out, started listening to it. And there were moments where it was like, laugh out loud funny, but then that whole scene, I was like, bro, like you just lost a whole star for that scene alone. You already starting at only 4 stars. And then when we get down to the technicalities, plot development, character development, like you're looking at like a 2.5, 3 at max. 3 is the max you're gonna get. You automatically get deducted a star for that horrific scene, which for me, it's one of those things where it's like it starts off like as dubcon, which is dubious consent. Like consent could not have been explicitly given by him because he was drunk. Hold on. Give me a second. I have a phone call coming through that's important.
So, no, I did not read any of that. So y'all, I'm sitting here, right? Y'all know my thing. I keep track. And I was just like, man, it was just a trash month for you. Looking at my monthly TBR. It's all the books I'm supposed to read. And then I realized, I don't know what I realized, but part of what I realized is that this month I felt like I read one book. When I went through all the books that I read 14. I still got a couple to finish for live shows this week. But how did I feel like I read one book when 14 was read? So now I'm like, I don't know. I'm clearly out here spreading fake news. I don't know what I want my May to look like, so I just did that, just super regular. So I gotta figure out what I want on these other pages. But like, it just seems like I set myself up. So I have a live show on the 5th, book club thing on the 17th. We might do our beloved live show on the 3rd. You know, girl just don't know. She's shooting in the dark. And you know, that's just what it is. So I'm gonna have to go through this. And to be true, like to be honest, I usually have a couple months done. So maybe I'll do June and July, like the layouts for them sometime this month. But I don't know. I wish I had more stickers because I don't be wanting to draw nothing. Your girl just don't be wanting to do none of that. So I just gotta figure out life. Like I did. Yeah, it feels like I didn't read anything. And the thing is, let me tell you about my TBR, still Scarlet. My TBRs are books that I have to read for book projects that I do monthly. There typically are not books that I'm just like, oh, I want to read this book. Or if I'm buddy reading a book, that's the only time I write them down. Because if, let's say, there is books I want to read, right? But I know that I can also be heavily a mood reader. So I just try not to set myself up for failure, if that makes sense. And be like, oh yeah, I'm going to read this book at this time. And I'm literally setting myself up. I don't get how people do TBRs and then put it on the internet. I'll be like, huh? Because let me tell you how my life works. Hell no. Hell no. I literally be reading what I think is cool. Or what, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but unless it's like a live show, an obligation I have, I write it down. But if it's non-obligation, anything liable would happen, really. Y'all, I need more stickers. I'm over here pasting my stickers for May. May is also my birthday month, which kind of makes me sad, but such is life. So what have y'all been reading this month other than comics and graphic novels and such things? While we wait. Okay. I'm gonna save the sticker for something else. I feel that. I feel like that sticker can be saved.
Sorry. Hold on. Let me take you off of mute. Okay. Sorry, that was my my person. What?
Your person?
You know what I just texted you who I was talking to. Don't do that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We keep things?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. There's been
Confused. I
enough.
was like,
No.
I felt so attacked. I thought you were breaking up with me on the internet. I'm not
No.
gonna lie.
No.
I thought you were giving me the pink slip.
No, 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 no. Not I was
Like,
texting you, telling you who I was on the phone with.
I didn't even know. I thought it was my reminder that be like, you need to stand up. I Apple Watches.
Mm-mm.
Mind your business. Don't tell me when I need to stand.
So what did I miss? What were we
Trash.
talking about?
I was just saying what people reading, being nosy.
Oh. Being nosy. Yeah, I heard the tour.com-a-thon was really good.
Yeah, I wish I
People
could
got
have
a
got
lot
into
of
that
reading done.
too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I had 4 family emergencies this month. Y'all lucky I'm on live right now. I couldn't do nothing that nobody was doing this month. I had to cancel so many of my things.
It's all right though.
Yeah, life happens, you know.
Life
As they
happens.
say, life happens when you're making plans.
Why am I trying to scan text?
Your mama
Oh,
loved the stand alert. What? I'd
wait,
be
where's my
like, if they
phone?
don't leave me alone and get out of my business, I'd be ready to fight those folks. I won't lie to you. I won't lie.
Oh, okay. Because I went to all 14 prompts. Da, 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 and come. I feel like a lot of people read like a lot of like the stuff for tour.com a thon, and then a lot of comics and a lot of manga were read this month.
Sounds like a win is a
It is a win. I think I'm gonna continue on with the Bridgerton series, surprisingly.
okay.
I still think I'm still gonna continue because I like Scarlet Moon Creation said like the family dynamics are funny. They're great. I think they're amazing. Um, but man, listen. Ugh, ugh.
You felt like it was a given or what?
It just that scene just like it tainted the whole book. As I was before I got that phone call, what I was trying to say is that I feel like it started off as like dubcon because like he couldn't give explicit consent because he was intoxicated. You know what I'm saying? Which I think dubcon is tricky. Um, but depending upon the context of the story, like dubcon doesn't always necessarily bother me. I think that what pissed me off about the whole situation is that it was never addressed. Like the behavior was just never talked about. And that's what
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around is that she was never held accountable for the fact that, like, yes, he lied to her and he shouldn't have lied to her, but she traumatized that man because he literally went back to stuttering after that. He, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you literally put him into a mental space that he was in when he was a child.
Yeah. And then
And
you forced him to have a child.
and then you force him to have a child and it's never addressed. And I think that in a real world situation, like if he was not ready, that could have brought a child into the world and created so many issues. And she's never, I don't want to say reprimanded, but she's never reprimanded for that. Like it's never like addressed, like, you were wrong for doing that. You shouldn't have done that. I don't know.
Yeah, but I also think she has the time to like behind her because people would
Yeah.
be like, "Why would you be upset?" Like the purpose of her is to have babies.
Yeah. And I think that people are like, well, she was standing up for herself and she took it. I'm like, no, you still don't. There's still another, male, female, whatever. Like, you just don't. I don't, because the scene is confusing. Like, it is very confusing because of the fact that like he is saying yes, but that's what makes it dubious consent to me because he's drunk. He can't really consent. He's consenting, but it's dubious consent because you can't. consent when you're inebriated. In a lot of states here, like in the United States, like you can't. Like I firmly believe, let's put it this way. I'm not even put it down to like country. I firmly believe as individual, when you are inebriated, you are not in your full
You're
mental
not in the
capacity
you're not in a state of mind to make,
to make
you know.
to make a decision like that, to consent, which is why I always get kind of like, I always get funny when people are like, yeah, drunk sex, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it's like, because I've done it, but nobody technically can truly consent to that because you're not in your full mental capacity to be able to say yes to that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, even though he was saying like yes, and the scene was written where he was like enjoying it and he was into it, it's like, it is dubious because alcohol is involved. But then when it's like, he realized at that point that she would not get off of him, that's when I was like, yikes. So not only are we in a situation where the consent is really, really fuzzy, but then we get into a point where like she's forcing herself. She literally was forcing herself to stay on top of him as he finished.
Yep.
So, you know,
And
yeah,
that's how it was in Bridgerton. I didn't even get that far.
yeah, yeah.
In Bridgerton, he was like having a hard day in the office, and she went ahead
Yeah.
and hopped up on that thing and refused to get off.
And refused to get off, knowing that he did not want that, knowing that he did, like, he literally, and it bothered me more so because he wasn't sober. That I feel like if he was sober, he would have been able to just knock her off. You know what I'm saying? But you're talking about a
Yeah.
man that's in full arousal and he's drunk. It's
Yeah.
going to be very difficult. I feel like she trapped him. I just feel like she trapped that man. Like, they're married.
She said, I feel like my boy got trapped. But I don't
It's
disagree.
she, I mean, they're married, but she's still trapped him. Like, like, if a person's saying, I don't want kid, and I think what bothered me is that he told, like, regardless of what the situation is, he didn't want kids. Now, should he have been a little bit more specific about why? Yes. But
He
when
used
he
her
told
naivete.
her, he told her from the jump, if you marry me, you will not have children. He said it. If you marry me, you're
Yeah.
not going to have kids.
But she thought he had some kind of,
But it was,
situation.
but in the book, it's funny to me because I haven't gotten this far in the TV show yet. But I think the parts that I was enjoying was the fact that, like, her mother talking about the fact, like, because she was like, you know, asking about having sex on her wedding night. And her mom was like, you know, some people do it, it's not just for conception. Like, because she was
I'm like,
thinking,
look, I've been throwing this thing back since '69.
listen, 1869, no, 1769 was this good as 17. But it was funny because her mom was like, what did her mom say? Her mom was like, her she asked her mom, she was like, oh, so you've done it 8 times. Her mom like turned red and was like, no, bro, I've done it more than 8 times.
Anytime. She said, Ma, so I heard you were throwing that thing back for some time now. I said,
She's like, you have
well,
8 children, so you must have had sex 8 times. Her mother was like, no, no, you're not getting it. Some people have sex because they enjoy it.
yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation with my child.
Listen, you will have to, so buckle up.
I do. I do. But it's going to be crazy. Oh, by the way, so is sex for people who just want to procreate? No. No. No, my dear. And her mother did a horrible job explaining it, by the way.
She did. Mom was trash with that too.
Yeah, mom did a horrible job explaining, like,
Mom did better.
I'm trying to read this thing. April 28th.
I cannot believe I'm about to be 32 years old.
What are you doing for your birthday this year? Jesus.
As every year, I don't like celebrating it, but there are people in my life who insist every goddamn year. But actually, on my birthday weekend, my niece and my little sister are graduated from high school, so I hope the focus is on them and not on me. I typically do not like my birthday. And there's a lot of reasons why I don't like my birthday. Some of it is rooting in trauma, some of it is not. One of the big reasons I don't like my birthday is that almost every big transition I ever had in my life was on my birthday. Like, I've graduated on my birthday. Memorial Day has been on so many of my birthdays. Things have been shut down because of Memorial Day, so I couldn't do things on my birthday. And it's always been around the time where I have to move out from wherever house I'm in or apartment to move into another. Like last year, I was moving and cleaning a stove and shit on my birthday. So for me, I just want to pick another birthday that's not in May, but I don't know when that would be because I just been wanting to be alone and do nothing and like drink nice things, cold things on my birthday. And my birthday just is trash. It be giving garbage. Or to like people be wanting to go places and stuff, and I don't want to be doing none of that. I just want to do none of that. So,
My dear.
yeah. But such is life. People always want to do shit.
Yeah. At 144. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You know what I'm looking at right now? I wish I could see you for your birthday.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
cool.
I know, and I can't do not a damn thing until this thing is out the way.
Yeah, I assume so.
Yeah, I can't. They won't. Yeah. Will not let me do a thing, which is so unfortunate. But I mean, I get it, but it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It really does suck.
I decided to add in my reading planner just a page called 32. And I'm going to just write random notes of like things I've enjoyed in my life until this point.
You should. That's super positive.
Yeah.
We're getting old, aren't we?
Yeah, my knees been old though. That's that's not new. Them knees been 87 since 87. So
The baby girl asked me today, she was like, "So what are you doing at 30?" Because she asked me if I was 3 today.
I said, "Yep, I am 3."
She said, "Are you 3?" I said, "No, baby." I said, "Mommy's 30." She said, "Well, what are you doing at 30?" I said, I really don't know. I said, this is one of those times where mommy's going to be very honest with you. I don't know what I'm doing at 30. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life, but we're doing it day by day. That's what I do know. We are taking it day by day and we are surviving. That was it. That's all I could tell her because I had I I I said, baby, I do not know what to tell you.
All right. Well, we're gonna head out.
Yes, we are. Thank
Um,
you, y'all. It's been great. It's been real, but we have been here for almost 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
chatting away. Bree and I will. I guess it's just good if we just do these like the last Wednesday of every month. I think that's pretty much been working for us.
Yeah.
So our next one will be, what is our next book? This was Bree's pick.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
What
This
is
was
it?
your pick. Hold on. The best we could do.
Oh.
Hmm. Because you really enjoyed that.
Yep. That will
So
be
this
on.
is one, yeah, that I have not read. So we will be doing the best we could do in May, and
I
June
feel
is
like we're gonna be.
Snapdragon.
I feel like we're gonna be doing it June 3rd. I mean June 1st. Because the last Wednesday
Is
of May is the 25th, and I
Yeah.
won't be able to do it because I'll be out of town.
Okay, we could do it June 1st.
Okay.
We just will have maybe two live shows.
Yeah.
And depending upon what happens, I'll tell you when we get off of this, but we'll talk. But we will send y'all the date. Look tentatively for June 1st for the best we could do. That'll be our May pick. And if anything changes, we will let y'all know. But it's been good chatting with y'all. We will see y'all later.
All right. Bye.
Toodles.